can I not see myself?
Okay, we are now live, Sardia.
Hello.
Hi. Just be waiting for persons to join on the
Okay.
live. So, how are you, Sardia?
I'm good. I'm here riding the waves. As Maya Angelou said, I'm riding the waves.
I'm putting your guts in it, right?
Yes, exactly. You know, if you're gonna ride the waves, you gotta have some core strength. So,
Right.
in order to ride the waves, I gotta get the strength from within to be on top of the waves. So that's what I'm here doing.
Okay. Alrighty, so we can see a few persons have joined us. Well, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Sardia, where did you go?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm trying not because I can see myself and I don't want to see myself. So I was trying not to see myself.
Well, for this purpose, just stay seeing your beautiful self. All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining Getting Past Trauma from book along the book webinar. My heart sank, overcoming grief, loss, and challenges. I think I'm still having difficulties saying that I'm an author. Each time when I'm to say that, Sardia, I get a bit speechless. It's been a journey, and it is here. And this is just something that I wanted to do as a part of launching the book. So I did not want to just put the book out there without us having some conversations around a few themes that is in the book. And one of the themes, the dominant themes in the book, when people read it as of August 15, they will see that it entails a bit of trauma, personal trauma that I have gone through, but I decided to bring in a few of my friends and experts to talk about what it means to overcome trauma because none of us live that perfect life. And the beauty of life is being able to overcome our challenges, to be victorious, and to live a life of just pure happiness and joy. And it's for that very reason why I decided to do this particular webinar that looks at getting past trauma. And I am beyond excited and happy that my sister, my queen friend from St. Thomas, decided to join me on this conversation around overcoming trauma. And I must tell you, my friends, when I reached out to Sardia, actress in Los Angeles, she did not hesitate. She immediately said, "Of course, I will do it." So I thank you and your ancestors and your friends and agent and manager for being free and open to join me on my YouTube channel as a part of my upcoming book launch series. So, how are you doing, Sardia? Tell us a little bit about Los Angeles. You know, enough of we in St. Thomas want to visit those beautiful shores and the 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 promenade of Hollywood. So,
Okay.
what's life in Los Angeles?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for even thinking of asking me to be on this live event with you, and congratulations on the book. First, that's writing a book is huge, and then to get it published and edit and all of that, I know the work that goes into that. So you must be proud of yourself, and don't ever get stumble up on your word to call yourself an author, because you were born to be an author. You came into this world designed to be an author. And the fact that you accept, that you said yes when the universe spoke, you said yes, you accept that challenge and you delivered. So congratulations on that.
Thank
And
you, sister.
I'm proud to be someone from St. Thomas. Uh, I it's always been something that when someone say to me, even here in LA, when someone say, "Oh, you're Jamaican, where you from?" The first thing out of my mouth is like, "I'm from Kingston," because that's what they associated with Jamaica, Kingston or Montego Bay. But now I go, "Oh, I'm from St. Thomas. It's a little parish, in the hilltop of Stokesall." And they're like, "Where?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I'm Jamaican." you know. Um, but LA is hot as always. I've been in LA 27 years. So this is my hometown. I from Jamaica to Chicago to LA. So out of all three, I would call LA my home base.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's hot as always. It's busy. This is not, like we Jamaicans, we're like everything irie, everything cool, everything slow motion, but not in LA. It's a fast pace. If you don't pick up speed, you'll get knocked over. So
I can
stay on point
imagine.
or you're gonna get knocked over.
I
So
can imagine. I can imagine. Right, right, right. So, without much further ado, let me tell the viewers and our subscribers and our followers, and I can see some of my friends online. I thank you so much for joining to take the time out of your evening to be with us. I really do appreciate it. But let me tell you some more about Sardia Robinson and why she is a perfect person to have a discussion with us this evening about trauma. So, as we said, she was born and raised in Jamaica. She's a writer, actress, and producer. Sardia is a leader in shifting the narrative for Jamaicans in Hollywood and working steadily to bring diverse, complex, genuine characters to television and film. Sardia immigrated to Chicago and proudly graduated from Columbia College in the same state, Chicago, with a BA in theater. Sardia has written and starred in her own critically acclaimed autobiographical one woman show From a Yardie to a Yankee. And I can tell you, it's a wonderful play. In the show, she brings to life the gripping, gut wrenching, true story of her courageous journey from the murderous streets of Kingston, Jamaica, to the deadly personal consequences of Chicago's drug wars. The performance, the performance that is in From a Yardie to a Yankee features Sardia showcasing nine, yes, you heard correctly, nine different characters, all based on real people along her life journey. The play was listed as one of the top plays in Los Angeles. I tell you, people, this daughter of St. Thomas is not playing. Audiences have raved about From a Yardie to a Yankee at New York's United Solar Theatre Festival, the Atlanta Black Theatre Festival, Shakespeare in Paradise in the Bahamas, and also at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, where Sardia was honored with the festival's prestigious Innovative Women in Theatre Award. 2022 is shaping up to be Sardia's busiest year yet. In February, Sardia performed her show for Black History Month at the University of the Pacific, that is in Los Angeles. She was cast to play Amy Jakes Garvey in the docu-series on Marcus Garvey. And you can also catch Sardia starring in The House Out of Order, a 2022 TV sitcom currently airing and making a splash in the Caribbean. My friend Sardia, awesome, awesome stuff. But along that life journey in that biographical was, of course, your journey through traumatic experiences, your journey through intimate relationship abuse, journey through parental abuse, child childhood abuse, and just briefly, can you summarize, briefly describe for us what sort of traumatic experiences you went through as a child. Let us first start there. What was life like for you as a child?
That's a good question, and no one ever asked me that before. So I'm gonna take a minute to describe my childhood. So my mom left when I was 10 years old to migrate to the United States and left me with my aunt. My father left my mother when I was 2 years old, so I never met my father until I was 10, and he came once and then he left, and I haven't seen him again since then. But raising in Jamaica uh, with absentee parents can be a little traumatized because you sort of start as a child started to wonder why they left and why they didn't take you. So you started to deal with first abandonment. And
Mm.
so when you're a child dealing with abandonment, you tend, and this is just my experience, you tend to want to started to do things to get attention. Um, so for me, the more I get attention, the more I was resented
Mm.
with my peer, by my own peers. So I was kind of like a lonely child. So even though I wasn't raised around my cousins and I was in a household of lots of cousins, I still felt lonely because as a child, you want all these thoughts would go through your head. Why your parents are not there, why you're treated certain way, why you look certain way, and when you're being told that you're too dark or you're not pretty enough, you started to just get into your own shell. So I surround myself in this little box. So when I would go to school and come home, I would sit under a tree by myself and I would make up stories and I would create characters and they
Mm.
would become like my imaginary friends,
But
right?
but but Sardia, wait, because we don't want to go into how you started acting as yet.
No, no, no. Listen, I'm not going to acting yet. So I would go into these imaginary friends and they would become my kind of like my safeguard, my safe place, I would call it. The trauma that started for me was when older men started to look at me as a younger girl, when especially when you start to grow into, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
develop, and
Yes.
older men started to touch you when they're not supposed to touch you, and you know it was wrong but you don't know how to say it, or you're afraid because you don't think anyone's going to believe you, or you might think it's your fault because you're wearing the shorts, or so that was something that really affected me, being touched where places that I shouldn't be touched by family members and our neighbors, and
Mm-hmm.
it continued it to a place where it kind of become like, is this normal, you know? And so you we end up I end up with started to date men at an early age, as far as just because I need that kind of protection from the others, if you know what I mean, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it was the physical abuse, and then you get into relation, and then you're also searching for a father figure, and then you end up dating guys who treated you badly, but you tolerate it because you're hunting for someone to be a father.
But do you think that these traumatic situations started to occur because of the abandonment? So you didn't know your father, and then your mom left early, and then you were being bullied within the community and at school. So were you like trying to find love or trying to understand what love was?
It was both. I was trying to find love and I was trying to understand it. And at the same time, my aunt, who was was one of, she raised me well, and but she also has her 5 children to take care of. Plus, we're living in a poor community. Uh, she's busy trying to put food on the table, so she's not really time to figure out what I'm going through. As long as I'm
Mm.
home and as long as I got food and I'm in school, that's okay. You right? So if I'm not complaining about something, then there's no need for her to worry. And
Right.
I don't want to worry her more.
And then, as you said, she was so busy trying to provide for you
Right.
that she may not have been able to notice the traumatic experiences that you were encountering.
Right. Exactly. So though, and then those things when those things happen, you as a child, you don't know how to process it. So the
Mhm.
best way to process something for with that is to forget about it.
Oh yeah.
Right? So you
Mm-hmm.
blocked it out
Yeah.
and you go about your daily
Mm-hmm.
life. And that's how the trauma would start, because you take that and you bring it into your adult years.
Mm-hmm.
You
Unresolved.
unresolved,
Unresolved.
unresolved, and you bring it with you. And then there's certain times, when you would, as an adult, you will say things to your guidance, the people who guide you, and you said, this happened to me, and they go, why didn't you tell me? And you go, you didn't feel like you could tell them because you didn't think they would believe you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they go, when did this happen? Because I've never seen, you know what I mean? So they, they don't, they're so, as you said, they're so busy protecting to get food on the table to provide, that they're not seeing the everyday thing, this everyday struggle, as that this young 12-year-old girl is going through, right? So I
Right.
just hold it in. I there was times when I would just find myself just start crying for no reason, and they would go, what's wrong with you, why are you crying? And I just can't explain it, and I would go, oh, nothing, nothing, I'm okay. Right.
But what were some of those episodes that made you cry when you were alone? Was it
It was why me, why this is happening to me, why my friends, why people, these kids don't like me, why they call me ugly, why, why did my dad didn't come back and get me, why did my, like, I knew why my mom left, right? um and I would expect her to come back. I was expecting her to come back at some point. So I had that hope that my mom's gonna come back at some point. She never did.
was it also why was I poor?
No, and that never crosses my mind, because there was nothing for me to compare to.
Mm.
So, we all the friends that we went to the same school. When school's over, all the kids in my neighborhood, we all walk to go home into that neighborhood. The
And
kids.
and Sardia, let's be detailed. When you say neighborhood, you're talking about Golden Grove. Was it Golden Grove?
No, I'm talking about um uh
Stokesall?
no, I'm talking about Kingston. I'm talking about Waterhouse.
Okay.
Yeah,
The inner city.
the inner
Okay.
city. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in St. Thomas, as a child, I left St. Thomas when I was 10. Up until 10 years old, I was severely bullied.
Mm.
Severely bullied, to the point where I was afraid to get out of the house. That's how much. And I was bullied by older kids that was much, much older than I was. They would take my lunch money. They would beat me up. I had, when I was growing up, I had a lot of hair, and they thought I was Indian. So they would call me Coolie, and they would pull my hair and drag me. And, and, and so so that happened. And when I left and went to Kingston, when my mom came and got me and took me to Kingston to drop me off at my aunt's house, because she was getting ready to go to migrate, I thought, oh, I'm getting away from that, but it just got worse in Kingston.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you thought that you had escaped it, you were dropped into a even worse situation.
If not worse situation.
So was it still older children that teased you in Kingston, or it no became like men or family members?
It was older. It was, and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine recently. It was always older kids that teased me, and now when that bullied me, and now that I look back, I can see why. When I didn't know this until I was confident in myself and started to accept me for who I am. The reason why I was so severe bullied by those older kids was because I was way prettier than they was.
Okay.
It was a pretty girl on the block with a whole bunch of hair and the pretty hair, and how dare she?
But pretty by European standards.
Yes, pretty by European standard, because they thought I was Indian, right? And so when and you know, we Jamaican, we have a pet name, right? My pet name was Debbie, so they would call me Coolie Debbie.
Oh.
Ugly Coolie Debbie, you're ugly, you're black, you're so black and ugly. So it took me until I was 40 years old to accept that I was not an ugly person, because I believed
40,
it.
age 40.
At age 40, I believed it.
Because of the childhood trauma.
Because of the childhood trauma. As I said before, you take your childhood trauma and you take it with you into your adult years, and you think you have resolved it, but you haven't, because those things, it's in your subconscious, and it's embedded in that deep part of you, and then you started to do things and don't realize your pattern of behavior, and when people started to tell me, when I was in college and my friends used to tell me things of how I would behave, they would say to me, Sardia, why you never smile? Why you always look so serious? Because I was always reserved. Even when I was in college, I was always, you know, you can't come close to me.
The name calling became a part of your consciousness and became a part of your thought process. So you started to believe it.
I started to believe it, and I feel like I never fit in. So I never fit in nowhere. I never fit in my own country, my own people. I never fit in. When I come to America, I didn't feel like I fit in with amongst African American when I was in college. So I was drawn mostly to the Caucasian, my white friends. In fact, they were drawn more to me, because to them, they're like, oh my God, Sardia, you're so pretty, you're so exotic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Stop saying that. Right? Because I didn't believe it. So when they're telling me, I'm like, no, could you stop saying that? I end up getting into an argument with someone. I'm like, could you stop saying that, please?
Wow. So you did not like to be called beautiful?
No, because I didn't believe I was.
Up to age 40?
Until age 40, I started to come to the conclusion that maybe these people are onto something. Maybe I'm actually a pretty person.
but before we get to age 40 and how you started to overcome that traumatic situation, what were some of the issues that you went through, especially in your 20s and 30s, because of those unresolved issues?
In my 20s, I was the most miserable, unhappy person. Have you ever been into a store or been out in public and you look at somebody and their face just look miserable, like something's wrong, and you smile at them and they don't even smile back at you?
Some cashiers in Jamaica.
Yeah, that's me. I was miserable. I was angry all the time. You say something to me and I would snap. I had anger issue. I was dealing with animosity towards my mom, towards my dad. how how could you leave me in Jamaica so long? You know, um, when these things happened to me, it was your fault. I was doing a whole bunch of blame. I was a victim. I was I was living the victim role.
Mm-hmm.
So when you play a victim, when someone as a victim, when you ask a victim how they're doing, they tell you a victim story. That
Mm.
was me.
Wow.
There was nothing. How you doing, Sardia? There was not. Oh, I'm great. I'm doing great. You never hear that out of my mouth because everybody around me did me wrong. Even though they had nothing to do with my life, my trauma. You're part of it.
So the sun is shining and you are a thunderstorm within.
The sun has shine and things not bright, as Miss Louise Burnett would say.
And also these unresolved issues impacted the relationships that you had.
So
Miss Lady with the bad boys.
all these, all these issues led me into wrong relationship because you're always searching. You're always searching for someone to love you. You know. So when someone come, I call them the con artist. When the con artist comes and he's charming and
Mm-hmm.
tell you everything you want, he wants you to hear that he think you want to hear, you buy it. So yeah, I was in some bad relationship with some bad people, and again it was because of my self, it was my not my self esteem, and feel like well they say they love me and I must believe them, you know. And so I end up because I was searching for something. What do you call it? I was
Searching for happiness.
yeah, I was searching for happiness, and so I get needy. I was needy, you know. And I can tell you one thing: guys don't like a needy woman.
Mm.
I was needy and I was searching, and I wanted someone to love me, please love me. And so you end up in relationship that's not right for you, that's toxic. So and it's because of my childhood trauma from dealing with being physically abused,
Abuse,
verbally
verbally
abused,
abused,
emotionally abused. You know,
abandonment.
I got abandonment. I got when I was in high school in Jamaica. You know, I would leave school as soon as the bell rang. Man, I would be out because there would be girls outside waiting to beat me up.
Wow.
Yes.
So you couldn't fight Sardia?
No, sir. Me don't want nobody cut me in my face. I still can't fight. I can I can argue. I will argue with you. I will I should be on a debate team, but I cannot fight.
Okay. So that happened in your 20s. Tell us about your 30s now, especially when you started to become an actress. So how were you able to separate the self-esteem issues, the lack of confidence to become an actress?
Well, the thing is, as a child in Jamaica, growing up, as young as the age of 5, I knew I wanted to be on stage. It was the only place that I find some form of joy. Even though I wasn't on stage at 5, when I watched movies or TV shows where my neighbor had a TV and we'll go watch a TV show, I knew I wanted to do that. I knew that I wanted to be in that little black and white box. And I would leave after the show was over and I would act out the scenes from what I've seen, right? And because I know that was something that I wanted to do. And the commercials on TV, I would know all the words and I would do that. So I knew I wanted to do that. That was my joy. That was what brought joy to me, right? So when I came to America and went to college, I knew I wanted to study theater.
What brought you joy, or was it like an escape
No,
to be someone else?
it was what brought me joy.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't an escape. It was what brought me joy. And I knew that because when I came to America and I went to Columbia College to study theater, I I was still reserved. I call myself shy. And I wouldn't be the first person. I would always sit in the back of the class. Even when in Jamaica I was in school, I would sit in the back of the class. I was when I went to college, I would sit in the back of the class. I didn't have a lot of friends. I think I have about one or two friends that we became real close. But when it was time to audition for a part at school, I was out of my shell. It was like something took over. So I would, and even now when I perform on stage, when I get on stage, I'm backstage. I'm really nervous, and as soon as I get the stage, something took over, and I just become a light. I just become this person or this character, and as soon as I get off, I go back into that shell.
Mm.
And so it's always hard for me to go outside and talk to the audience because the audience wanted to talk to me. They want to say hello. They want autograph, and it's like I'm doing it, but I can't wait to stop to go home. Like a nervous feeling get over me because I think that I'm an introvert and an extrovert at the same time.
Got you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm that too.
yeah.
I think a
So
lot of creatives are like that.
yeah. So, but in my 30s, in getting out of my 20s and going into my 30s, I started to. I was still dealing with the trauma. I was still dealing with the Jamaican stuff. And I don't know if I should say this, but I know when I left Jamaica, I didn't want to go back.
Mm.
I was like, I'll never go back to that place.
That's understandable.
You know, it
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was
Because it was a painful place for you.
it was a painful place for me, and there was no good memories for me, right? So I was like, I don't want to go back to that place. So I was still dealing with all that animosity against my parents, and I was still dealing with the trauma, and I hate people. I just didn't want to be around men. I I was like Joan Collins in Dynasty. I just treat men like shit. I was like, I was just bitter, and I knew I needed help, but I just didn't know how to get it or where to go, and I didn't want to tell anybody I needed help because you see, when the night comes and I close my eyes at night, I'm telling you, man, those demons will eat you up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I knew
Life
that
experiences just come flooding back. You can't sleep.
you
The
can't
consciousness
sleep.
is there. You are saying to yourself, you shouldn't have done this. You should have done this. Did I please that person right? Did I say the right
Did I
thing?
say the right thing? You stop and trauma is like a sore.
Yes.
If you don't heal that,
Heal
if you
it.
don't get
Mm-hmm.
help, so it's as soon as somebody touch that sore, it's a trigger and you off, you know. So I got all these sores over my body. So somebody said the wrong thing, somebody brushed me too hard, somebody come at me too hard. I'm ready to like put up,
Yeah.
ready. I'm like Muhammad Ali. I'm ready to like box, like
Yeah.
coming at me,
Because
because
it's the defense. It's a
it's a
defense.
defense, right?
Because the decades of that trauma,
Right.
think that you have to defend yourself and you have to be this steel, this woman of steel.
This strong person.
Right, because you don't want anyone else to be disrespectful to you. So you put on this armor of defense. So as someone says something, you're at them.
Yeah. As soon as I leave the door, as soon as I go through my door, I had the armor and everything ready. I'm like, I'm ready. Come. Anybody? Yeah, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain. And it was eating me out. It was eating me up. And I I started to look ugly. You know what I mean? Um, you never hear when there's like these beautiful girls, but their attitude is so bad that they're just ugly.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's not a physical appearance,
and no, it's
but
not a physical appearance.
the within shines through. The ugliness
The
shines through.
ugliness come through, and
Yeah.
that was because I was dealing with a lot of trauma that I haven't dealt with.
Mhm.
You
But
know,
it's important that you say that, Sardia, because a lot of persons will not understand or accept that the traumatic circumstances of during their childhood, like for instance, being bullied, being teased, can affect them when they are an adult. A number of persons fail to accept that. They look at it and they will say, "Oh, my friends were just being friends. My friends didn't mean it," or as you said earlier, they bury it. But those traumatic situations actually create a sort of monster, the lack of self-esteem, the disbelief in their own achievements, or the disbelief that they can be successful.
yeah.
It affects them as an adult, and a
You
lot
started
of persons fail to accept that.
you started to tell yourself. You started to create your story. You see, we all create our own story, and sometimes we have to change the story. So I had created a story. I was not worthy. I was not pretty. I was not talented. I'm not good enough. No one's gonna like me. I don't belong. There was just a whole bunch of lists that I was telling myself. And so when you create a story, when you tell yourself this story, your story becomes a reality.
Mhm.
So it becomes my reality, right? So when people will say to me, "You're so talented," or "You should audition for this. You would be good at it," or "You so," I will shut them down, like, because to me they're lying to me,
Right,
right? Because I didn't believe that about myself.
right, right,
So I
right.
take that all that into my 20s and my 30s.
Even though you're now acting and being in Hollywood.
Yeah, but I'm not in my 20s and my 30s anymore.
Okay, okay, okay. So, what happened at 40 that made you realize that, oh, yes, I am indeed worthy, I'm indeed beautiful? I know Oprah says 40 is when life begins.
Right.
So, was it that for you?
It was definitely that for me. I in when I in my when in my 40th birthday, I knew I had to make a change somehow. I had to make a change for myself. And a friend of mine, I'm now living in Hollywood, and a friend of mine, we were just having a conversation, and one thing led to the other, and we started having the same conversation we're having now. And she said to me, "You should come to my church." And so at that point, I was like, I don't want to go to the church. I don't, I had blocked God out of my life because it's like,
He doesn't
God,
love me. He doesn't
yeah,
love me. How could he have allowed so much bad
right,
things to happen to me?
right. So to me, no, I don't want to hear about your God, right? So I took her up on it, and I went, and I went to this church called Agape, and it's
Mhm.
Michael Bernard Beckwith, and it's a non-denomination church. And I remember sitting there, and almost everything he was saying on that stage was me. He was talking to me. I cried a river. Okay. I could have flooded the old church. That's how much I was crying. I was crying that cry when it's coming from your gut, and you find yourself having hiccups. That's how much I was crying, because it hit my soul, and it's like I needed to be at that place at that time to hear those words. And so I decided that I was gonna start going to that church, and I was gonna pick up some books in the bookstore. So I went to the bookstore, and I bought a couple of his books that called "You Have the." He wrote a book called "The Answer is in You." And I read that book, and it literally changed my life. He talks about
What's the name of the book again, Sardia?
the answer is in you.
Just typing it in the chat. The answer
Is
is
in you.
is in you.
And it's
And
by Bernard Michael Beckwith.
how is that surname spelled?
Beckwith. Beckwith. And he talks about forgiveness, the power of forgiveness. And let me tell you what I did. I think I was in a relationship that was toxic anyway. I picked up the phone and I told that guy, we're done. No explanation. I said, as of today, lose my number, we're done. And I literally took about a month or 2 months, and I did everything in that book. I wrote my mom a letter and told her about, first of all, I told her I want to forgive her for leaving me in Jamaica. And I wanted to forgive myself for the stuff that I had against her, the animosity, the feelings that I had towards her. I wrote my dad a letter. I sent the letter to my mom, but I wrote the letter to my dad. I don't know where my dad lives, so I wrote the letter and then I burned the letter because it mentioned that. And I started to meditate. I started to take care of myself emotionally, physically, spiritually. I started to work from within myself, because in order for me to be a better person, I have to work from within. I have to forgive. And forgiveness have nothing to do with it's okay what you did to me. Forgiveness is me finding the power to accept my blessings. Because there were so many blessings coming my way, it just couldn't come because I was living a life of not being grateful, bitter. You know, this Dr. Bernard Beckwith spoke about, if you ask the questions you ask, you'll get the answer. So if you ask powerful questions, you'll get powerful answer. So if you ask why me, the universe will tell you why. And if you said, how can I be of service today? The universe will show you that. So you gotta ask empowering question. So I started to do that to myself. I'll wake up, I started to name 5 things that I'm grateful for. I started to call the people, my family that I haven't talked to, just to say, hi, I love you. I forgave you. Please forgive me. You know, I just started to make the steps that made me become a better human being to myself and to my family and to my friends, but most of all, myself. And then someone told me about another book called The Untethered Soul. And I read that book. And I'm telling you, when you read that book, you will stop and have awe moments. You go, I find myself doing it. I'm reading the book and I stop and I go, oh my God. Like, my life, just the universe was just showing me signs of how that the universe was conspiring for me to do good all along. But I didn't believe it. So trauma doesn't go away. It just heals like a sore. Day by day, it gets better and better and better. If you take care of that wound, it will heal eventually, slowly and slowly and slowly. And then you
and,
find
and
yourself.
and it wasn't an easy process emotionally, was it?
It was not. that question will take me to when I was writing my one woman show. Because when you start writing, you start to realize the deep memories of stuff that you have hidden and you have not confront face to face with it, right? So when you start writing your story, you got to write your truth and you got to bring out that truth. So my writing became my therapy,
Mm.
right? I would There was so much, Shelly-Ann, from dealing with my sister's murder and blaming my mom for it, and um being disconnected with God because, as you said, how could you, you know? So I wasn't waiting for someone to save me. I needed to save myself, right? So
And that's important, because oftentimes when we have gone through traumatic situations, we are hoping that the persons who were a part of that evil doing will actually come back and say, I am sorry, or they will come to mend the fences or to undo the wrong. But oftentimes that doesn't happen.
no,
You have
no,
to seek,
yeah,
that healing from within yourself on your
right.
own.
You have to first and foremost forgive them, and then you have to forgive yourself for the the evil thoughts you have towards them. Okay, me me setting is me thinking evil thoughts towards them. I'm just poisoning my own soul, right? So I had to I had to make a decision how I was going to change the narrative of my story.
Mhm.
And we as humans, we have the power to change our story. We have the power to say, this is not how my book is going to end.
Exactly. And it's
This
important to do that, especially if we are mothers or fathers.
Exactly, our father. Yeah, this is not how my story is going to end. You have that power. That's the greatest thing about the power that we have. We have the power to say, you can get up and say, this is not how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Because I look at it this way. And Michael Bernard, and I kept going back to him because he changed my life. He said, you know, if I was to live in this world for the rest of my life dealing with this trauma, what would I do to find happiness? Right? You're gonna have to find some happiness. Are you gonna live like this for the rest of your life?
Go to the grave very unhappy and miserable and bitter.
Right.
And then what your memory becomes.
Right.
People will recall you as an angry, bitter woman
Right.
or man.
And now I have most of my friends, 90, almost all my friends, if you ask them behind my back, tell me a little bit about Sardia. They'll tell you one of the nicest person I've ever met. One of the kindest person I've ever met. 20 when I was in my 20, no. Tell me about Sardia. I don't like that bitch. That's what would they say if I was in my 20s. But at this age, they'll tell you one of the nicest person I've ever met.
And that is true. You're one of the nicest, most humble woman I have ever met. Very accommodating, very understanding, very helpful. Ah, it's a blessing to get healing from trauma.
You know what? It, it's it's one of the the best gift you can give you to yourself, because once you get there, you'll be amazed to see miracles happen in your life, because we came into this world with a journey, and we came in to do a job. We came in to give and to share, right? But we came in and then life hit a certain way, and then we take on this way of behaving, and then we call ourselves, this is me, this is just how I am. We do that. This is me, this is me. But it's not. It's really not. Because no Nobody came into this world bitter,
Mhm.
right? We came in as happy babies, right?
Exactly. Hmm.
Right? So I wanted to find that peace again. I wanted to go back to that place of peace, right? So I'm at a place in my life now where if I come in contact with anybody have ever done me harm, all they would get from me is love.
You have to release that
You
for
have to
your.
let you have to let that go in order to receive, right? So and I tend to keep my place like that, my surrounding like that. I remember walking to a store and this guy came out to me and he said, it was somebody I was talking to in the store because he was helping me. And then I walked out and I guess he was on his break and he came over me and he said, I just want to let you know that there's there's this light around you, like this energy around you. I don't know what it is, but there's this light around you. When you're walking, you had that smile and it just lit up the place. And that's how I want to be remembered. I want to walk with my light.
Mhm.
I want to I want to make everybody that I get in contact, that I talk to every day, everybody I run into, whether it's at the supermarket or at the gas station, I want them to know a smile, a hello from me is genuine, you know, and and I want to live my life like that because that's how I was designed to live my
Mhm.
life.
And I like the fact that you said the journey to this place of getting past your trauma was not easy. It was emotionally painful. But going through that fire has birth something that you never imagined that you could experience a life of content, of happiness, of joy. So it's important, or it's worth it. It's worthy to go through the fire.
It is worthy, and I would say, as Michael said, you get into that closet and you lock that door and you do not come out until you get that answer, right? I was doing self searching for myself. I needed to heal myself, right? I needed to. I did the work. You have to put the work in. It's not an overnight thing. It's a process. And it's not, oh, I've done it and I'm good. It's not that. It's an everyday, constantly, constant, because I still deal with it. Even now, I still deal with self-doubt. You know, we had that conversation. I still deal with self-doubt. I go for a part. I think I'm good for it. I put my best foot forward, and then I don't get it. And then I go, what's wrong with me?
The
Am I
flashback, the
yeah,
flashback, the
you go back, you
flashback.
bounce back to that child, that little girl coming back to the surface, telling you these lies. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. You're never gonna make it. Nobody gonna know who you are. And you have to say, it's in your head, and you have to say, stop it.
Yes, shut up,
Shut
Satan.
up.
Shut up.
you know, and so I go through that, and if I say to somebody, no, I'm okay, that doesn't bother me, I didn't get the part, I'm okay, I tell you
Mm-mm.
this, I'm lying. Because remember, we are spiritual being having this human experience, right? We all are spiritual beings on this earth. We living in a human experience, having a human experience. And when that human experience kick in, you have to have that, you have to be so, your spiritual self have to be so strong to knock that down. Because you're gonna shed a tear, oh, I didn't get the part, I really wanted it. You're gonna shed a
Hmm.
tear, but you're not gonna live there
Exactly. Hmm.
because you have worked on your
And that's
spiritual.
natural because you have worked for it. It is
Right,
something that you wanted.
right. But you also work on your spiritual self, your healing process, where it's so strong, where you can say, okay, I didn't get it, I cried, and you let it go and you move on. But you see, if you didn't work on your spiritual self and your healing process, because if you didn't get that role,
Hmm.
it would hit you hard and
Yes.
take you
Yes.
down. But because I'm balanced, because I'm in alignment with who I am, I can say, okay, human side of Sardia, I didn't get it. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna let it go, but I'm gonna be okay.
And something better is coming.
And something better is coming. right? And you got to know that. You got to know that just because something didn't happen for you
Fine.
doesn't mean the world is ended. It's because the universe, God, got something bigger.
Bigger
And that's
for
not
you.
what you were designed to come into this world to do anyway. Like, I didn't come into
Exactly.
this world to play that part, because if I did, I would have get the part. That's just how I look at it.
I agree with you. That's how I look at it too. When I lose something that I really want, I will cry, of course, and I will complain, and I will call my friends, and but I know something better is coming.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want us now to talk about, since you went through the healing process and overcame, and the journey, it not only made you happier emotionally, but it also positively impacted your professional life.
It did. It did.
Some of your biggest successes came after that.
Some of my biggest success came after that. And it came when I'm not expecting it. Because I was so busy living my life. I was so busy being grateful. I'm so busy living in the now and sharing and giving. And so the universe, you ever remember when your parents said, "You're gonna cry? Cry. I'll give you something to cry about." Right? That's how the universe works. The universe said, "You're gonna be grateful? I'll give you something to be grateful for." So while I was busy living in my gratitude and be grateful and get around and just get up every day and live my life and live a grateful, happy life, things just come into my space without me looking, without me seeing it coming. Because whenever you're in a place where you're in alignment with who you
Mm-hmm.
are,
Mm-hmm.
that's when things started to show up, right? You have to be ready for it.
And
So
you pull on things that are positive. So a positive persona will pull on positive things.
there's no other way.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by positive people. I I don't I don't this I don't have conversation where it's gossipy and talking negative about other people. I am genuinely happy for my other actors and producers who are doing things, because you know what we say in Jamaica, where feel or feel
Can be unfeel.
can be unfeel. So if it's yours, it's yours, and I'm genuinely happy for you. So when you started to live in a place of gratitude, only good things will come.
So it's indeed worthy to go through the fire.
You
It's
have to go through the fire.
it's not only emotionally rewarding, but it's also financially rewarding.
It's rewarding all around. And then the right person, the right relationship will also show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we all are energy, and whatever energy, we all are connected by energy, and whatever energy you're putting out is what you're drawn to you. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're putting
Mm-hmm.
out negative energy, you're going to get negative energy. If you're putting out toxicity, you're going to get toxicity, right? So you have to be careful what you're putting out, energy wise and verbally wise.
Right. Right.
Right? So
Right.
you got to be careful what you're saying, how you carry yourself, how you living. Because if every day you're complaining, my life sucks, I don't have this, never gonna happen to me.
Or you're being bitter
Are you
and
being bitter?
and
That's
and
exactly what you're gonna
and
get.
angry at life, at your partner, angry at work, angry with your children. That's just a lot of aggression.
That's a lot of aggression, and that's what you will receive back. That's exactly what you get, because whatever you put out is what you get. And then you go, I don't understand why this is happening to me. Well, because you're putting that out, you're putting
Mhm.
that energy out. And you might not putting it out verbally, but your energy is putting it out, right? As we said, we all are energy. Every single one of us connected by energy.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sardia, for this think tank. I am calling it. was indeed so much and emotional, and I really appreciate your frankness and your openness and just being vulnerable in sharing with us. I completely awesomely just indebted to you and grateful to you, and I thank you so much for your willingness to share. And we are at the 1 hour mark. We said we'll be on for an hour. I guess happy people just chat now. But before we close off though, I would love for you to just encourage persons who may be going through unresolved traumatic situations, even if it's not from their childhood, but traumatic situations that they would have gone through from their parents, from their partner, because we didn't speak about those traumatic experiences of losing your sister and then your mom that you forgave, and thankfully you forgave her before she passed off, which is very important, because there are a lot of persons who didn't get that opportunity to say I forgive you, and they lose that loved one, and know it's so difficult for them to deal with that guilt because they weren't able to say I forgive you.
Right.
But through your own personal situation of childhood, and then those traumatic intimate relationships and losing a loved one, encourage someone who may be going through a similar situation like you did.
First, I have first I have to say, you have to know right off the bat that you're worthy. You're worthy. You're um you're a child of God. You didn't come to earth to suffer. So whatever you're going through, know that this too will pass, and in order for it to pass, you have to deal with it head on. So if you're holding on to animosity, you have to let that go. Um, start working on yourself. Start learning how to love yourself first, and learn how to forgive yourself first, and then forgive others. Trauma, dealing with trauma, whether it's mother, parents, relationship, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, children, whatever it is, it's not something you can just get up in the morning and say, okay, today I'm going to forgive everybody. It doesn't work that way. You have to start with yourself first. Start working on yourself, right? Start loving yourself. Know that you are worthy. You're worthy of where you are. Wherever you are right now is where you're supposed to be. And know that where you are, God is. I don't want to I know that everybody is spiritual, and this is not nothing to do with religion, but I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that where we are, God is, and everything comes from a loving place. So whenever you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with, know that this too will pass. And if I can get over it, you can get over it, because you're worthy, you're special, the universe is here for you, and there's no one like you. You have a job to do, and you got to get up off your behind and get that job going, because it's not going to happen until you work on yourself. You came here to do a job. We need to do it.
You need to fulfill your purpose,
You need to fulfill your purpose.
and that purpose is not being bitter, not
And
being angry, not being unhappy.
happiness is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Every one of us can get up and say, today I'm going to be happy. People who are not happy, they chose not to. I chose
and
to be happy.
and happiness is not linked to being wealthy or rich.
No, happiness has nothing to do with wealth. You're not your car. You're not the clothes you wear, the car you drive, your house you're living. You're not none of that. None of that. That's not happiness. Happiness comes from within. There's a lot of people who I would rather live in the tiny little house and be happy than live in the mansion and be unhappy.
Amen.
And I have friends
Amen.
who live in the mansion and are happy. Okay?
But as we said earlier, when you actually go through that baptism of fire of healing, the wealth will come. All
Everything will come.
everything will come.
Everything will come. The
The
moment you
wealth in all forms will come.
the moment you let go of the the animosity and the grudge and the guilt and the bitterness, the moment you let go of that and start to forgive and love who you are, everything that you ever desire in life will come. It will show up at your doorstep. It will knock at your door. It's like, I am ready for you. Where have you been? Thank you for doing the work. You have to do the work.
And if that work, especially for our Jamaicans, if that work includes going to therapy, go to therapy.
Whatever works. If you have to go to therapy, if you have to read a book, if you have to go down on your knee, if you have to meditate, if you have to do yoga, what if you have to go on a long walk, whatever you do to find that healing process, you must do it, because everything that you ever wanted in life you will get, but you have to do the work. You cannot get anything if this is cloudy. If it's all cloudy, nothing's going to come through. Nothing. You might get it, but you're not going to hold on to it.
Yeah,
It's
it'll
like
be fleet.
it's like people who win the lotto. People win millions and millions of lotto, and in 2 years they're broke
Yes, it's
because
fleeting.
they haven't done the work.
Yes. Sardia, I thank you so much for doing the work with me this evening, for joining me on this conversation and lead up to my book launch. Just want to run through the few of the questions, the comments. Sorry, you have some new followers, Sardia, and some new fans. So my friends Brenda is saying trauma. Oh my gosh, that went. Sorry. So Brenda is saying trauma doesn't go away, it goes through a healing process. We spoke about that. Yes, and Nina is there too. She's saying thank you for sharing, Sardia. Woo! This was enlightening and encouraging. Blessings to you too, Nina. Thank you for joining. And I see my other friends from St. Thomas, Miss Evelyn Ellis Brown. Congratulations, Shelly. Thank you, Miss Ellis. It's been my absolute pleasure to share this moment with you. I pray that you will always drink from your saucer. The same to you, Miss Evelyn. The same to you. I pray that you will drink also from your saucer. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this conversation, Getting Past Trauma. It was a part of my book launch. As I said at the beginning, I didn't want to just have a book launch and then I had a grand announcement that I am now an author. I thought of doing a few lives where we speak about topics within the book. And you would have guessed it, trauma is one of the themes that I address in the book, my own trauma, going through similar experiences like Sardia. I won't give away any more details. You will read all about it in the book itself. Come August 15, Monday, August 15, join us back on this same channel, on Shelly-Ann Thompson YouTube channel, when we will officially launch My Heart Sank, Overcoming Grief, Loss, and Challenges. And joining us for that particular conversation will be none other than counseling psychologist Sardia. We are so lucky to have one of Jamaica's best psychologists to join us on a couch when we will be talking about good grief. All right, say no more. We will say no more. We leave it for August 15th. And yes, it will be a wonderful time. It will be 90 minutes launch, and it will broadcast live on my YouTube channel. So please subscribe, click the notification bell so you may be notified when we go live on August 15th to officially launch the book. Before I close off, Sardi, I want to give you the last word. Miss Big Actress, can you tell us what's next for you? Or
what next for me? When people ask me that question, I always said I'm just busy riding the waves. But what's in the pot right now is my uh, movie that is in pre-production of the one woman show from a Yardie to a Yankee. We're doing the movie version of that, and that's in pre-production right now as we speak. So we should be getting ready to start shooting that sometime next year, hopefully in Jamaica. So that's what's happening right now. And I just wrapped a play with the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. So that's coming up in October. And yeah, I'm just being grateful each day and give thanks.
and as your friend, other than putting from a Yardie to a Yankee to a film, right? that will start production next year, and your theater stuff that's coming up in October. Sardia, how could you forget your book on dyslexia?
That's right. How can I? I'm also working on a children's book called based on kids being dyslexic because I myself suffer from dyslexia and didn't find that out until I went to college. So I decided to write a children's book about a kid going through dyslexia. So I'm working on that, and hopefully I'll collaborate with some Jamaicans, some talented Jamaican people in Jamaica. So
We'll find them for you, don't worry.
yes, we're working on that.
We'll find them for you.
I'm excited about that too because that actually is personal for me because that was also one of the things that I was teased with because I was afraid to read out loud. Um, I always wanted. I don't want to go back because you're always right, but I always wanted to get an A, and I could never get an A in school. I always end up with a C the most, you know. But I always wanted to be smart, like the smart kids, and nobody. They thought I was just dumb, not until I came to America and real and my professor told me you're dyslexic, and I go, what? Nobody knew what that was, and then he told me what it was, and I go, I'm dyslexic. That's why. And graduated from college as one of the top students. So figure that out, and end up writing
Yes.
a TV show and a movie and a play. So there you go. When you tell yourself these stories about yourself and believe it and it becomes a reality, you got to change the narrative, and then you realize you can do so much. You're so talented. You're so full of anything you can do. You can do just about anything, but we tell ourselves these stories and keep ourselves down. So change the narrative and stop and
Awesome.
change the story.
Yeah, change the narrative.
And
Yes.
change the story.
Listen, maybe after August 15, who knows, we will have to turn these conversation into a monthly. Who knows? It's just dropping into my spirit.
Yes.
Where we can come on and talk about unresolved issues and how we can overcome them, or we can identify, accept, and overcome them.
Right.
Thank you so much,
And
Sardia.
before you go, I need that T-shirt.
Listen, I don't even start. I was looking at my phone. Quite a number of my friends, they've messaged me. I want a T-shirt. I see who calls dib on it first. I give it to them.
I'm a medium, so I'm a medium.
All right, Sardia.
Thank
we,
you
we,
so much for having me.
we can work out something.
Yes,
We're St. Thomas Queens. We can
yes.
work out something.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. And you can call me anytime. Anytime you need me, I'll be there.
Thank you so much, sister. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on YouTube for this conversation. It was such a pleasure to have you. The comments have been really interesting, really enlightening, engaging, and we thank you for sharing in the discussion. So, see you guys. If you think this was great, it's going to be greater on August 15 when we will have the psychologist who's going to unpack some of those issues so we can overcome together, because as
Yes.
Sardia said, we are overcoming, and the baptism of fire is so important so we can live a wealthy life in every aspect. So thank
Absolutely.
you all. Thank you, Sardia. Kiss the shores of LA for me. I will be there soon, I promise you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And
Thank
thank you to your
you.
audience as well.
Yes, yes, appreciate it. Bye, everyone. August 15, my heart sank, overcoming grief, loss, and challenges. Blessing. Take
Thank
care.
you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.